Here it is. So, what is this called? This is the one that I read, and it's super cool. It's one of those isekai where the main character is OP. So if you can handle an OP character, they do it in a way that it's kind of like that time I got reincarnated as a slime. There's a lot of comedy in there, and you have to suspend any kind of disbelief that the character doesn't know they're OP. So just like Slime, who's constantly saying, "Oh, I'm that strong." It's the same with this guy. He's like, "Oh, I can do that." It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I really liked it. Alright, so we're going to watch top 10 most anticipated new summer 2021 animes. I do know for sure that I read the manga for at least one of them, and I actually read the light novel online at least a year or two before the anime is coming out. So I know the story. And let's jump into it and see if I know more than just that one. I know previously I watched Rising of the Hero of the Shield, and it was pretty good. It was pretty faithful to the manga, which tried to be faithful to the light novel that I read previously before the manga came out. There were things about the manga that I liked that they added, and things about the manga that they took out that I thought belonged in the story. But let's go ahead and jump in it and see which ones I know. Well, that's the one. So that first one that they showed immediately, that's the one that I am familiar with. It's really dope.
Seasonal previews for the upcoming summer 2021 season. We just had a banger of a season, and I'm sure that everyone had their fill of crazy shows representing all kinds of genres. While we slowly bid the spring 2021 season goodbye, it's time to look to beyond the horizon of what's to come. What I'll do for today is to compile what I think are the top 10 most anticipated new anime this upcoming summer season. The examples I've done on an anecdotal basis, but I feel that it does a decent job of representing what most people are looking forward to. Hey, if you're someone who's not too updated with the shows to come,
let's see.
Maybe this is also your chance to pick up something that you might actually find interesting. But let's get on with the show. Death game or battle royale anime seems to be picking up steam now, isn't it? After quite the drought, we had both Gleipnir and Darwin's Game last year, which I both maintain to be rather underrated shows that you should definitely check out. But for this summer season, we'll look to be seeing more in the form of battle in 5 seconds after meeting. Just like the previous instances, here we see our protagonist Akira to be one of the many lucky people who gets whisked out of their everyday life to be part of an experiment. Said experiment, of course, practically erases them from existence while granting them powers that include the ability to enhance one's own body to being able to affect reality itself. It's quite a wide range.
There's a manga that I was reading that was kind of like that. I can't remember what it was called. It was like a game show, and the antagonist was like a fucking big smiley face. He had like a big smiley face mask on, like a big head mask, and all these people had to get as many viewers as they could. Viewers like online, because they were trapped, and if they didn't get the viewers, they would be killed. And some people just resorted to like sex scenes, doing a bunch of the dirty, and then other people reverted to like murder. They were trapped in a room. Each group was like 2 people, and they had to figure out, they had to be interesting so people would watch them, otherwise they would die. It was so wild. Very interesting. That was like the level 1, like the first challenge. There was more challenges, but that was the first one. And I thought, dang, that's crazy. I don't know what it's called.
Now, what do they do with it? Trials. one-on-one fights, battle royales, fights to the death. Everything is on the table in this one. Armed with his most powerful asset, his intelligence, our hero looks to win this game and unravel the secret behind the sketchy organization responsible for these fights. PA Works is back again with its new offering this season. Aquatope of White Sand tells the story of Gukuru, an 18-year-old girl who works at an aquarium, and her meeting with runaway idol Fuka. The two eventually get to know each other.
Runaway idol. What's a runaway idol? What does that mean? So she ran away from home? Is that what they're trying to say? That's pretty wild. How do you hide when you're an idol? Seems like everybody would recognize you. You know what I mean? They'd be like, oh, there's Taylor Swift. Let's just pretend we didn't see her. They'd be like, wait, wasn't she missing? Okay. I know that, sorry, I'm pausing a lot. I know that in Japan, they're really big on these idols. And I wonder, like, what is the bar that you have to cross to be considered an idol? Because I feel like all these people that are called idols, and you're just like, well, how are you supposed to hide if you're an idol? I don't think, like, Justin Bieber would have been able to hide in some random, like, city by the ocean or whatever, especially at the height of his, like, childhood stardom or early teen or whatever. Everybody would have been able to recognize him, or if you didn't recognize him, someone would, and then you'd be like, oh, I've heard that name. I don't know.
Must be the watery aesthetics, I think. Based on the synopsis alone, though, I'm seeing something like a coming-of-age story where the two girls get to grow with each other in a bid to save the aquarium.
Oh, look at that. That was dope.
I also see something like Adachi and Shimamura from it. Either way, I think that quite a lot of people are excited for this show and have some decent expectations from it. It's only taken 3 slots, but we now
Here it is.
Isekai of the Badge.
So, what is this called? This is the one that I read, and it's super cool. It's one of those isekai where the main character is OP. So if you can handle an OP character, they do it in a way that it's kind of like that time I got reincarnated as a slime. There's a lot of comedy in there, and you have to suspend any kind of disbelief that the character doesn't know they're OP. So just like Slime, who's constantly saying, oh, I'm that strong. It's the same with this guy. He's like, oh, I can do that. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I really liked it.
Summoned to another world as a brave warrior, Makoto Mitsumi's adventure doesn't start on the right foot.
Yeah, that's a good anime. She's one of my favorite characters too. I liked all the characters. I'm not gonna lie. I liked all the characters. All the characters that followed him.
No shortage of power, something that he wastes no time in exhibiting in his lone journey. Standing against everything that fate throws at him, may it be monsters or the gods themselves, it's time for the second adventurer to stand against fate and prove his worth. Now, I see a lot of people being so stoked with this finally getting an anime adaptation, and I can see exactly why.
It's super cool.
That's way more overpowered than typical isekais, and a lot of wild and crazy stuff.
Yeah, he is OP.
Never get enough of. This year's a really good year for isekai, right? We've got all of these heavy hitters like Mushoku Tensei and Spider coming out, and now you can add Tsukimichi to that.
I read that Spider one too. I read some of it. The light novel. I read like the first 20 chapters.
Every once in a while we get a show like this that hits a bit too close to home. Hey, it does the job of being relatable, so it passes. Anyway, Remake Our Life tells the story of Kyoya, a game developer who's in his late 20s. Having lost his job and starting to regret his decisions, life throws him a bone as he wakes up and discovers that he's traveled 10 years back in time to when he entered college. So how will this second chance fare? If you enjoyed something like New Game, maybe this show can tickle your fancy due to its similar themes. Personally, is that it reminds me of real life, but it's far more comedic in nature. What I'm liking more from this show, based on current expectations,
that's kind of cool.
To be one of the relatively few anime that tackle college life and its intricacies. Comparatively,
dude, can you imagine? Can you imagine, like, if you could go back to the you from 10 years ago, but you know like everything that you knew from the future, like you didn't lose your memory. Can you imagine all of the stuff that you could do? Like, man, you could make investments, you could interact with people in a different way, you could do certain things. Oh my God, it'd be so crazy. You could just, uh, man, it'd be so wild. You could just like, you might go on a whole totally different career path, or you may pursue totally different, just things of your own interest, man. Like, oh, I always wanted to travel, but I decided to get that job instead. But then you wind up hating that job, and then you quit it anyway. So you don't have that job, and you didn't get to travel, or I don't know. It's just such an interesting premise. It's an interesting premise, and I wonder. It looks like this will be a lighthearted way to go about it, so that might be kind of fun too, as opposed to like more mature. Oh, PS2. Ooh, PS2, boy. Oh, 6.
Number 6 on the list is Spirit Chronicles.
Oh, that looks cool.
What do you know? We have another
Uh,
Matsuoka harem coming up, and both VA fans and
Matsuoka
isekai fans are
harem.
waiting for this. To be fair, this isekai seems to have a rather unique concept in execution. Instead of a guy dying and resurrecting in another world, you have a person dying and having his memories and mind fusing with someone else from the other world. Yeah, it is a bit of a mouthful, but think of it along the lines of just his consciousness that gets isekai. So with that in mind, our protagonist's new host, a guy named Rio, awakens to brand new powers. Maybe this is the power that Rio would need to help him take the next step away from the slums, enrolling in the Royal Academy after saving a princess. However, being an orphan in a school of rich nobles isn't quite the most pleasant experience, as Rio would soon learn. Personally, being a fan of this specific genre and the light harem action shows, I'm definitely looking forward to this one. It seems to be something up my alley, and if you're up for another one of these shows, put this title into your watch list. The Isekai train just does not stop.
That seems pretty cool.
Number 5 title on the list: How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom.
Oh, this is gonna be cool.
Kazuya Soma finds himself in the plight of
I'm gonna tell you right now. I really like isekai. At least right now, I'm pretty big on isekai. I haven't gotten bored with them or anything like that. I think it's such an interesting premise, and really, it's not even that new. I remember as a kid, back in the '90s, there was a movie that really introduced the idea of isekai, and it was about a kid. It was a live action movie. I think it was like a kid in King Arthur's court or something like that, and he was like a baseball kid, and maybe Chicago. For some reason in my head I'm thinking Chicago. He was like a Chicago Cubs fan. I'm not sure. And he got teleported to like King Arthur's time period. It was a really cool premise. I didn't actually like the movie as a kid. I think I was too young and I just never watched it. But that was like the first like introduction to like an isekai, where you get teleported into some other world, or you like die and get reborn into a different world or a different time period.
many anime heroes in the modern era being
And I really liked it.
There is one problem though. He's got nothing on
The idea.
powered forces of destruction that call themselves underdog heroes. No. For Kazuya,
Did you ever notice? Look at this city. If you watch enough anime, and especially the isekai, but just animes in general about fantasy, why the fuck? I mean, why the heck are why are the cities all round? Like, I get it, like the king, and then it expands outward, but it's like, has anybody ever seen a map in real life where like the city is like perfectly round? Show me a city that's perfectly round. I don't understand why they do that. Nobody does that. And it's so crazy looking to make it perfectly round. I guess it makes it easier to build a wall. The walls never make a difference anyway, so what does that matter?
his idea
Who are you trying to keep out with that wall? Like, what's going on?
comes in a more subtle way. You see, instead of going on a quest to defeat some demon lord, his idea of making his contributions is to
Look at them ears.
the economy of the country that he finds himself in.
Yeah.
Planted into a position of power, Kazuya must gather
I think I read the manga for that one too.
his forces, make some arrangements, and get his A game.
Yeah. Yeah, I read some of this one.
To put the country back on its feet.
It's pretty cool.
It's an isekai of a slightly different flavor. See, this is why the genre just refuses to die. There are just so many things you can do with the otherworld concept, and I feel like a show like this is just touching the tip of the huge iceberg of possibilities. This is a show that I'm personally looking forward to seeing.
I would consider this type of anime right up my alley. I read the manga and I did like it, but I stopped reading it because I just didn't want to wait every week for a new chapter to come out. It was good, but it wasn't that good. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to wait like Berserk. I'm just going to wait for a fucking week or a month or something for a new chapter to drop. But it was good, and if they had had like 300 chapters, I would have read all 300 of them. It was that good. I love it when they talk about like the economy because I'm, I guess, an adult, so my mind works as an adult. Back when I was a kid, I probably would have hated this anime, but it's the same reason why there's an anime that's kind of like, what's that anime where they all got, Sword Art Online, where they all got transferred into this game and they couldn't leave the game, but it's a little more lighthearted, but it has to do, there's like a lot more emphasis on the economy in that game, and I loved it. It's called Log Horizon. If you get a chance, check out the anime Log Horizon. There's 2 seasons that are complete for Log Horizon, and I think they're making a 3rd season, but I super loved that one because it goes on to show like people that, all these different people that are trapped in this game they all have their own like wants and needs and desires. In Sword Art Online, a lot of the characters just sort of felt like background characters, but they really fleshed out a lot more of the characters' personalities, I thought, in Log Horizon, where it's like, oh, all these people specialize in all these different things. They're not all just wearing the same stuff, doing the same stuff. It was pretty neat. And they also had to do with like food and things like that, because you're in this game for who knows how long. You got to eat, you got to drink, you want to buy property, you want to have possessions. You know what I mean? You got to worry about like your income. It's a very interesting idea that I thought Sword Art Online sort of scratched the surface and then took it into an action/incest sort of direction, which was not, okay. It was okay. But Log Horizon's better, in my opinion. No love for Log Horizon. Let's skip this thing. It looks pretty nice though. Sunny Boy. Well, I like that animation style.
The title like that, I really didn't know what to expect at first. It turns out that the title is a show about students drifting to another dimension where they awaken their supernatural abilities. With their powers, their this otherworldly dimension begins. It's survival in the sense that it's structured more like an escape story instead of a battle one. Talk about another cool isekai variant. The premise is pretty much similar to a drifting classroom. However, for those who prefer a comparison with more modern anime titles, I'm seeing something like Charlotte as far as the superpowered students thing goes, or maybe Talentless Nana. That's not exactly bad company to be in now, is it, right? Madhouse brings us this anime original on July 16th.
I really like that art style with this anime, like the way the characters are drawn. It reminds me of it's another anime that I saw called The Dark Flower or something like that. It was kind of neat.
Overall, I'm keeping my expectations relatively high for this one. Number 3 on our list is Peach Boy Riverside.
Peach Boy?
You remember the show which had 2 yandere-looking characters as the main ones, yeah? Well, it's coming this season, and you wouldn't expect something like that.
What the heck?
The title Peach Boy Riverside. Now, would you? From what we know of the show, it's
dang! Whoa! They're cutting those demons. Those look like ogres. Oh.
Now, it sounds like a standard adventure story, but I assure you that it's not that simple. From what I know, it's a very enjoyable show that bridges.
Whoa, oh, okay.
It looks to be a really badass show that has shades of
Yeah.
Momotaro. Wait a second. I guess that's
Momotaro.
Overall, Peach Boy Riverside looks like a show that will have no shortage of over-the-top action and a handful of fans.
Look at that thing.
Oh, and did you know that it's by the same person who did Dragon Maid? This one's gonna be good.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that one's pretty interesting.
This summer is The Detective is Already Dead. With a title that impactful, you have to wonder what the show's about. Turns out it's the story of Gimizuka, who's the assistant to one of the greatest detectives ever, Siesta. Or, well, used to be, rather.
Siesta?
For a while now, and Gimizuka has resigned himself to trying to live life as an ordinary high schooler. That low-profile life
Good luck.
crashing down when he stumbles upon a girl who bears an uncanny resemblance to Siesta. Only fate knows what it has in store for the duo as they have their reunion. From what I can see, this anime looks to be a good combination of mystery and action elements. The novels have also got stellar reviews, mostly praising the character work.
Another idol.
Not to mention how genre the overall work.
The one-eyed idol.
My fingers crossed to see whether all of that great stuff will translate well into the anime format. The case study of Vanity.
Hold on, check this out. It looked like she had some kind of Kingdom Hearts emblem on her eye. Look, that makes me think of Kingdom Hearts. Maybe her eye is one of the doors that needs to be locked. Bunch of Heartless are gonna pop out, or husks. What is this?
The case study of Vanitas seems to have it all. Amazing.
That looks cool.
A captivating soundtrack by Yuki Kajura and a very interesting story about vampires.
Sounds cool.
With the ever-fitting backdrop of Europe in the industrialization era.
What?
This is where our story starts with young Noe going on a journey to find the book of Vanitas.
It's like Howl's Moving Castle.
Allow the legendary vampire Vanitas to one day take revenge on his demonic brethren.
So it's got vampires in it. So it's like Howl's Moving Castle meets I don't know, what is it, Blood Plus or whatever? One of those vampire ones where they're like real thin people.
Turns out the story could be a bit
because they're like real thin looking.
After all, the Vanitas who Noe meets ends up being
a
completely normal human doctor. He does have a specialization in vampires, but the grimoire we knew about is being used to heal patients. Perhaps there are more layers behind this kind of healing that we've yet to know about, and it's up to Noe.
Well, this one looks pretty good.
A good mystery, especially one with a healthy blend of supernatural action. From a production perspective, few anime this summer can probably match Vanitas as it is.
I really like the setting and like the clothing that they're all wearing and like the fictional time period that they're in with like this steampunk. It's got like a steampunk feel with that floating ship and the way they're dressed and the top hats and oh, it looks so cool. And then you got vampires and I guess magic because there's some grimoire being used for healing. It kind of makes me think of what was that anime? The main character's name was Ryuji, and he was a torch. Shakugan no Shana. Kind of makes me think of that, where it's like, I don't know why it's making me think of that, but that was a good anime, Shakugan no Shana.
Now. This is probably also my pick for
the way they look.
Season, and I see this as something that could appeal to both male and female audiences.
Oh.
Now. This is exactly why the case study of Vanitas is my pick for
it was the grimoire. The grimoire makes me think of it because Marjorie Dahl, she had a grimoire that talked.